And thank you so much for coming to Izzy's Simchat Bat today. When we first imagined this day, we thought it would be a small celebration, as squeezing in a party in the week between Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur would surely be a bit of a hassle. But as the responses came in, we were simply overwhelmed when Izzy's loved ones announced they would be coming in from all parts of New Jersey, New York, Pennsylvania, Maryland, and even Georgia. And those that couldn't make it in person are still here with us via the magic of FaceTime from Florida and Israel. During Rachel's pregnancy, we often talked about how lucky Izzy already was, that so many people were looking forward to meeting her and celebrating her entering into this world. And since she's been born, we have continued to be overwhelmed with the outpourings of love and support. And by schlepping from near and far on this Sunday morning, you have continued to spoil Izzy, not to mention her parents. Thank you so much for being here with us. We wanted to start by giving a brief overview of what will be happening over the next few minutes. Izzy is named after two of her great-grandfathers of blessed memory, and we are excited to share a bit about her namesakes.
But first, Sammy and I wanted to mark this joyous occasion by learning more about our Jewish tradition, so we have spent the last several months learning a tractate of the Babylonian Talmud, Masechet Rosh Hashanah. The Talmud is a manuscript of the oral law that accompanies the written Torah and contains the practical laws and discussion by our sages of how we arrived at the conclusions that guide our religious practice. In Jewish tradition, the learning and mastery of a tractate of the Talmud is cause for a great celebration, hence the bourbons and scotches we hope you have already helped yourself to. It will make the speech go a lot faster. The completion of the Talmud is marked by a recitation of a special Kaddish, which we will recite in Aramaic at the end of this speech. As we were learning, we found some ideas that resonated with us and were fitting being mere days after Rosh Hashanah. The Mishnah on Daf Yud Chet states that on Rosh Hashanah, the world's inhabitants pass before God like the people of Maron. Who are the people of Maron that merited such a comparison? The Talmud explains that in Maron, there were narrow paths and people had to walk single file. Thus, the Jewish people are judged on Rosh Hashanah one by one. The Talmud next adds, however, that all the Jewish people are judged with one glance. This poses an inherent contradiction. How is it possible that we are judged both individually and all at once?
Rabbi Chaim Friedlander, a 19th century Hungarian chassid, explains that the Talmud is not referring to the mechanics of how God judges us, but rather to the two elements of judgment we face between Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. Our sages teach us in Masechet Sanhedrin that it would have been worth it to create the whole universe for any one person alone. With this realization comes a responsibility to use one's unique characteristics and skills to lend purpose to the world around them. How effectively and meaningfully you have done this is how God judges us individually. However, the Talmud here is also helping us to remember that we do not exist in a vacuum. Rather, our actions affect others and have ramifications for our entire people as a whole. When we act in a positive manner, we inspire others to do the same, thereby magnifying our contributions. When the Gemara says that we are judged in one glance, it is implying that we are all viewed together across space and time and evaluated by how, communally, we are making a positive impact on each other and on the world. This duality of personal integrity and communal impact immediately reminded us of our grandfathers.
Our daughter's Hebrew first name is Naomi, after my grandpa Norman Mark. About 10 years ago, I had the privilege of sitting down with Grandpa and interviewing him on his life story. Throughout the interview, Grandpa expressed gratitude for the opportunities that came his way. In fact, throughout his life, Grandpa seized every opportunity that he could take. Grandpa was born in Hungary in 1922, and in 1929, his family made their way to the United States after a few years in Istanbul. They eventually settled in Brooklyn, where my grandfather attended public school and eagerly learned as much as he could from the best of Brooklyn's free resources: the public library, the Brooklyn Museum, the Pratt Institute, and the Botanical Gardens. He only wished that he had a more extensive Jewish education as a child, but he made up for it later in life by going to Daf Yomi Shir and having a regular Skype chavruta with one of his grandsons-in-law after he retired. Grandpa fought for the U.S. and Europe during World War II as part of an engineering unit. His unit went ahead of other infantry units, clearing mines and rebuilding bridges. He expressed gratitude for having to go through basic training 3 times because he felt that it put him in good shape for the rest of his life. He went to college on the GI Bill and became a civil engineer. As a civil engineer, he had the opportunity to travel the world, and he visited China soon after it was reopened by President Nixon. He and my grandmother traveled to Iran in 1979, shortly before the fall of the Shah, and he smuggled in his tefillin to Saudi Arabia, where his firm had to pretend he was Christian in order for him to gain entry. His proudest professional accomplishment was designing the port of Ashdod, and he moved his family to Israel from 1959 to 1965 so he could oversee it. My grandparents were each other's best friends, and after they both retired, they continued to travel the world together. They also audited 2 classes a semester at Queens College. They particularly enjoyed taking history classes, where they could dispute the professor's accuracy by saying, "I was there," and that's not how it happened.
Izzy's middle name in Hebrew is Yisraela, named after my Zadie, Sheldon Belfer, whose Hebrew name was Yisrael. Zadie embodied what it means to be a consummate self-starter and a man of tremendous integrity. Growing up in Newark, a young Zadie worked tirelessly from a very early age to make something of himself and to support his family. He always used to joke with me that he was able to afford a pair of Florsheim wingtip dress shoes by selling his blood to a collection center, and they would regularly kick him out because he would arrive ready to donate 2, 3, 4 days in a row. It should therefore be no surprise to anyone that he was up at 3 a.m. every day to open the diner that he owned and operated for 50 years. But the truly special thing about Zadie was that all of this hard work was just a way to do what he truly loved, spreading goodwill and Yiddishkeit to all who were lucky enough to be around him. The diner became the only non-kosher restaurant in Union that had a minion in the back each week. His customers became recipients of anonymous acts of kindness that he doled out very secretively. Zadie teamed up with a local politician to provide walkers and wheelchairs to people who he saw needed them. But their partnership was anything but. He identified people who were handicapped and needed assistance, bought the equipment they required, and handed over the address and the equipment to be delivered by the politician's organization to avoid the recipients knowing that it was Zadie who had given it to them all along. He always jumped through whichever hoops necessary to give to others, avoiding any recognition because that was of no importance to him. When I got older, Bubby and Zadie would take us on what can best be described as tzedakah tours in Israel, where we would visit all of the places that they had been giving donations for 10 or 20 years. But this was not a self-congratulatory tour. At the soup kitchen, we served hot meals. At the girls' home in Jerusalem, we taught elementary English and math lessons. At the mother and baby convalescent home, we strategized how to appeal to different populations of Israeli women. Zadie taught us always to strive to reach more people and to better our communities in lasting ways. Zadie was also a man of powerful convictions. As long as there was an ear listening, he had a strong, informed opinion to share. And even when there was no one listening, he still had a strong, informed opinion to share. In fact, the name Izzy first occurred to Rachel and me because of a family story. Zadie used to write letters to the editor in the Newark Evening News. But to disguise his identity and to make sure Bubby, a kindergarten teacher, didn't get fired for his often fiery opinions, he wrote under the pseudonym of Izzy Cohen, anonymous, yet proudly Jewish. So in the months leading up to Izzy's birth, I began a search for these letters to the editor. I have so far looked through 8 years of newspapers on microfilm, manually scrolling through and searching for letters to the editor from Zadie. And so far I have found 5, which I have printed posters of here, but the search continues. Izzy, our wish for you is that you should inherit Grampy's love of learning and curiosity about the world, and Zadie's strong convictions and giving heart, and know forever how special it is that you carry on their names and memories into the next generation of the Belfer and Mark families.
Before we finish, we would be remiss not to recognize. Just about to mention you, Bubby. Before we finish, we would be remiss not to recognize the tremendous support we have had over the past 6 weeks since Izzy's birth. First, to the great-grandparents, Bubby, Booba, Grandma and Papa, and Nana and Poppy. The love you shower Izzy with is all too familiar to us. It is the same love that we have been raised with our entire lives. and you do not take lightly the responsibilities of being the patriarchs and matriarchs of our respective families lightly. Thank you for always sharing your adoration and wisdom. To our siblings and the best aunts, Allie and Gabi, and the funkles, Sam and Josh and Jeremy, your excitement to hold Izzy, comment on every picture we send, and to savor every moment together with our growing family makes us feel so special. To Izzy's grandparents, our wonderful parents, what you have done for us and our new family in the 6 weeks since Izzy was born has been absolutely unbelievable. You set up our house so that when we came home from the hospital, we were already equipped with places for Izzy to comfortably sleep, have her diapers changed, and to feed. You came to our house and prepared a Shabbat dinner that could have fed 25 people and stocked our freezers with goodies. You showered Izzy with so many beautiful outfits, making sure that she had clothes to match both her mommy's seersucker dresses and her Abba's white coat. But beyond all of that, we are most thankful for teaching us, by example, how to be loving parents.
And thank you to our on-call pediatricians, Gabi, Rivka, Adam, and Jeremy, who have evaluated strange baby poop and answered urgent consults in the middle of the night and every time in between. We are especially grateful to have you as our friends and family. Thank you also to Nicola, who has given us the gift of a good night's sleep and has taken such great care of Izzy. Finally, I wanted to thank Rachel, my fearless partner. Each Friday evening, I sing Eshet Chayil to you, which describes a woman of valor. The lines read, Kamu vanea ve'ashruha bala vayahalala, rabos banos asu chayil ve'atalit al kulana. Her children rise up and make her happy. Her husband praises her by saying, many women have excelled, but you exceed them all. This passage has never rang more true for me. Observing the joy that Izzy brings you is simply magical to see. And I am so lucky that I get to experience it alongside you. You have already taught me so much about being a parent, and I look forward to figuring the rest out together. Many women have excelled, but you truly do exceed them all. Izzy is so lucky to have you as a mom, have a mom as caring, capable, and devoted as you are.
Thank you to Sammy, who is an incredibly supportive and doting partner always, but especially since we found out I was pregnant. Sammy bought any potential craving and stocked our home with whatever seemed palatable. And since Izzy was born, Sammy has done everything he could for both of us. He has taken the lead on staging her for photo shoots, changing, and burping. Izzy is so lucky to have you as her Abba and #1 fan.
And as if that wasn't long enough, now we're going to complete Masechet Rosh Hashanah. So the way this is going to work is we're just going to learn with you the last line of the Gemara, and then there's a part in Aramaic that we will say aloud. There's also a part that we will ask you to stand for. I'll come up with the cue in the moment, and you'll figure it out. Okay, so we're in the middle of a discussion of whether or not the Shliach Tzibor, the leader of prayer for a congregation, can fulfill the obligation of prayer for his listeners. We are now talking about the case of farmers that cannot make it to shul to hear the prayers. Rachel, take it away.
Hello, Kiyata Rabin. Rather, when Rabin arrived in Babylonia, Amar Rabbi Yaakov Bar Idi, Amar Rabbi Shimon Chasida, he said in the name of Rabbi Yaakov Bar Idi, who said in the name of Rabbi Shimon Chasida, Lo Pata Rabban Gamliel, Ela Am Shebet Pesadot. Rabban Gamliel exempted only the people in the fields from their prayer obligation on the basis of the Shaliach Tzibor's recitation. My Tama, what is the reason? Mishum Da'ani Se B'Malacha, is because they are forced by their occupation to skip the prayer, Aval Ba'ir Lo, but those who are in the town are not exempted by the Shaliach Tzibor. Hadron Allah, Yom Tov, V'Slika Alei, Masechet Rosh Hashanah. Hadron Allah, Masechet Rosh Hashanah, V'Hadrat Alan, Datan Allah, Masechet Rosh Hashanah, V'Datach Alan, Lo Nitnasei Minach, Masechet Rosh Hashanah, V'Lo Nitnasei Minan, Lo Ba'alma Hadin, V'Lo Ba'alma Datei. Hadron Allah, Masechet Rosh Hashanah, V'Hadrat Alan, Datan Allah, Masechet Rosh Hashanah, V'Datach Alan, Lo Nitnasei Minach, Masechet Rosh Hashanah, V'Lo Nitnasei Minan, Lo Ba'alma Hadin, V'Lo Ba'alma Datei.
Hadra Alach, Masechet Rosh Hashanah, Hadra Chalan, Data Alach, Masechet Rosh Hashanah, Data Chalan, La Minaseh Minah, Masechet Rosh Hashanah, Vela Tinaseh Minah, La Ba'ama Hatain, Vela Ba'ama Zateh. Yehi Ratzon Lefanecha, Adonai Eloheinu Velohei Eloheinu, Shetehei Toratecha Emunatenu, Be'olam Hazeh, V'tehei Imanu Le'olam Haba. Chanina Bar Papa, Rami Bar Papa, Nachman Bar Papa, Achai Bar Papa, Abamari Bar Papa, Rafram Bar Papa, Rakish Bar Papa, Surcha Bar Papa, Ada Bar Papa, Daru Bar Papa. Hared Na Adonai Eloheinu et Divrei Toratecha B'finu V'fiot Amcha Beit Yisrael. V'nihiyeh Anachnu V'titzaleinu V'titzalei Amcha Beit Yisrael Kulanu Yodei Shemecha V'lomdei Toratecha Me'odei Techalmenu Mitzvotecha Ki Le'olam Ki Li Yehi Libi Tamim B'chukecha Aman Lo Ebosh Le'olam Lo Eshkach Pikudecha Ki Vam Chitani Baruch Ata Adonai Lomdeni Chukecha Amen 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 Selah Va'ed Modim Anachnu Lefanecha Adonai Eloheinu Velohei Avotenu Shesamta Chalkinu Miyoshvei Beit Midrash Velo Samta Chalkinu Miyoshvei Karanot She'anu Mashkimim Ve'hem Mashkimim Anu Mashkimim L'divrei Torah Ve'hem Mashkimim L'divrei Tetelim Anu Alemim Ve'hem Amelim Anu Amelim Ve'mekablim Schar Ve'hem Amelim Ve'einu Mekablim Schar Anu Ratzim Ve'hem Ratzim Anu Ratzim L'chayei Olam Haba Ve'hem Ratzim L'ver Shachat She'ne'emar Ve'ata Elohim Toridem L'ver Shachat Anshe Damim U'mirma Lo Yechetzu Yemehem Va'ani Eftach Bach Yehi Ratzon L'fanecha Adonai Elohai Kishim She'azarani L'sayim B'sechet Rosh Hashanah Kein Ta'azrini Le'atchil M'satot Usfarim Acherim L'sayimam Lilmod L'lamed Lishmor L'asot U'kayim Et Kol Divrei Talmud Toratecha B'Ahava Uzchut Kol Hatnaim Ve'Amorim V'Talmidei Chachamim Ya'amod Li U'Zari Shelo Tamuj HaTorah Mipi U'Mipi Zari V'Zer Zari Ad Olam V'Titkayim Bi V'Hil V'Hitalech Tnache Ota V'Shafecha Tishmor Alecha V'Hakitzot Hi Tesifecha Ki Bi Yerbu Yamecha V'Yosifu Lecha Shnot Chaim Orech Yamim V'Yamina V'Smola Osher V'Kavod Adonai Oz Le'amo Yiten Adonai Yivarech Et Amo V'Shalom. Please stand. Yiskadal v'yiskadash shemei rabah ve'amad dihu atid la'atata u'la'achaya'am metreya u'la'asaka yitahon l'chayei alma u'mivnei karta d'Yerushalayim u'deshal chala hechala begava u'lemekar palchana nechura'a minara u'la'atava palchana d'Shemaya v'atrei le'amlich kedusha b'richu b'malchutei v'yikarei v'yachayechon u'vyomechon u'chayei d'chol Beit Yisrael v'agalav b'zman kariv v'imru amen. Yehi Shmei Rabam Vorach Le'lam Umei Omaya Yibarach V'yishtabach V'yita'ar V'yitramam V'yitnaseh V'yitadar V'yitaleh V'yitalal Shemei V'yikudasha V'yichu Le'ela U'le'ela Mikol Birchata V'shirata Tush B'chata V'nechamata Damiram V'yalma V'imru Amen. Al Yisrael V'al Rabbanan V'al Talmidehon V'al Kol Talmidehon V'al Kol Man V'askim V'araita Di V'atra Hadain V'di V'chol Atar V'atar Yehi Lachon U'Lachon Shlom Araba China V'chista V'rachamim V'chayin Arichin V'mizonei Revichei V'forkana Min Kadam Abuhon Dibi Shmaya V'imru Amen. Yehi Shlam Araba Min Shemaya V'chayin Aleinu V'al Yisrael V'imru Amen. Oseh Shalom V'Romav V'yaseh Shalom Aleinu V'al Yisrael V'imru Amen.